The barn was once my sanctuary, a hidden refuge where I could escape into my thoughts, away from the world that felt so heavy with unspoken desires. But one night, a hushed moment in the barn transformed everything, stirring a whirlwind of emotions that made me question my convictions about trust, boundaries, and the desires I had kept hidden away. Though it may appear unusual, I have to confess that it all began with a simple spark. That was the story I was given from the very start. With my husband away on business, the air was thick with a haunting stillness, a solitude that wrapped around me like a bittersweet embrace. In search of solace, I made my way to the barn, retracing steps I had taken countless times before, each visit tinged with a sense of longing and unspoken desire. Duke, our splendid chestnut-colored corset, had always been a soothing presence, a secret refuge in the tumult of my everyday existence. Yet, that afternoon, an unfamiliar sensation washed over me, a change that defied explanation. Within the barn's embrace, I found an unexpected bond with nature, one that blurred the lines of trust and loyalty, reshaping my understanding of our entwined fates. Our daily routine, once a tapestry of predictability and comfort, now felt like a delicate dance on the edge of something unspoken and thrilling. He dedicated countless hours to his job, frequently traveling for work, while I remained at home, longing for his presence. We had woven a life together, rich with fleeting moments, intimate dinners, quiet weekends, and those long, stolen nights spent lost in the glow of the screen. Yet, beneath that facade, an undeniable void lingered, whispering of unfulfilled desires. It was an elusive feeling, a whisper of something deeper that I couldn't quite grasp. In this moment, as the days slip by, the chasm between us feels like it only widens, a bittersweet ache lingering in the air. In those fleeting moments, I discovered solace within the embrace of our loyal corset. On our farm, horses were a constant presence. Nestled in a secluded part of the city, a tranquil haven where my heart felt at ease. The barn, sturdy and inviting, stood at the heart of a field that stretched out like a secret waiting to be discovered. My husband had a deep affection for horses, sensing the tranquility they brought him, yet they always remained just a fleeting passion in his life. From my perspective, those beings embodied a link to something deeper, a means to escape the suffocating routine of everyday life. I found myself drawn to the barn time and again. My heart found solace in the gentle presence of the horses, their warmth a comforting escape during the hours when my husband was absent. Thus, the connection with Duke was ignited. The memory lingers vividly. The moment I stepped into the barn alone, my husband away on one of his work trips, leaving me in a silence that felt both heavy and electric. The air was alive with a blend of earthy hay and rich soil wrapping around me like a secret longing, stirring emotions I dared not fully embrace. In the barn, a majestic corset stood proudly, bearing the name Duke. Its presence was breathtaking, a rich brown coat glimmering softly in the warm afternoon light that filtered through the barn's windows, casting an enchanting glow around it. Its eyes were a deep, intense brown, brimming with an undeniable vitality that stirred something unexpected within me. It felt as though their gazes lingered on me, filled with a captivating intrigue. Our paths had never intertwined in such an intimate way before. He had always been my husband's steadfast support, yet in that fleeting moment, an unexpected connection enveloped me, stirring emotions I had long kept at bay. There was an undeniable bond between Duke and me, a connection that stirred something profound within, a silent understanding that lingered just beyond the reach of the world around us. I lingered by the barn's entrance, lost in thought as I gazed at him, my heart racing with unspoken desires. He lowered his gaze, his breath hitching as it mingled with the charged atmosphere between us. With a heart full of trepidation, I cautiously drew near. I welcomed him softly, my words barely escaping my lips, wrapped in a hush that felt almost sacred. As the words slipped from my lips, they felt foreign, tinged with a thrill that both excited and terrified me. Yet, there was a stirring within me, a compelling force that urged me to speak to him as if he could truly grasp the depths of my heart, for reasons I struggled to articulate. A rush of unspoken trust enveloped me the moment our eyes met. Duke, that name, seemed to sense the fragility within me, just as I felt the same in him. In the days that followed, I found myself drawn to the barn more and more, as if it held secrets waiting to be uncovered. Whenever my husband departed, I found myself drawn to Duke, gently running my fingers through his fur, tending to his helmets, and often lingering by his side in the serene embrace of the barn. Though I can't promise it entirely, each moment spent in his presence enveloped me in a profound serenity, a release of emotions I had yearned for deeply. And so the days slipped away, each one tinged with a bittersweet longing. The lingering absence of my husband only deepened the connection I felt with Duke, drawing me into a world I knew I shouldn't explore. He appeared to sense the depths of my unspoken feelings. His presence wrapped around me like a warm embrace, igniting a sense of solace I never knew I craved. As I wrapped my arms around him, a serene refuge enveloped me, shielding me from the tumult of the world outside, where only the intensity of this moment mattered. The rhythm of his gallop became my refuge, the wind whispering through my hair, the clatter of the helmets beneath me was an intoxicating mystery. Yet, on a fateful day, the world shifted in ways neither could have anticipated. Initially, there was no turmoil, just a serene moment enveloping the barn, where unspoken feelings lingered in the air. After pouring my heart into it all afternoon, when the time came to take it apart, an undeniable force within me urged me to linger a little longer. Leaving felt like tearing away a part of my soul, and I found myself at a loss for words to explain why. In the depths of my soul, an undeniable yearning stirred, a desire that whispered to me in the quietest moments, refusing to be silenced. As my fingers glided through Duke's soft hair, an overwhelming sense of tranquility enveloped me, deeper than the bond we had forged in the weeks prior. With a fluttering heart, I stepped closer to him, reaching out my hands in a way that felt both daring and electric. His posture tilted ever so slightly in my direction, an unspoken invitation, as his body responded to my every move in a way that sent shivers down my spine. Initially, the atmosphere was delicate, demanding a shift in his stance that sparked an undeniable bond between us, a shared understanding that I sensed instantly. In that fleeting instant, I understood the depth of its uniqueness, the astonishing nature of a connection that remains elusive to those who have never felt its pull. Yet, I sensed the presence of Duke woven into the very fabric of my soul. It felt as though his thoughts had woven themselves into the very fabric of my being, creating a connection that was both exhilarating and perilous. It was not a longing of the flesh, at least not at the outset, yet an undeniable tension lingered in the air. Each visit to the barn brought with it a comforting familiarity, a serene escape from the world outside. I attempted to push it away, to bury it deep within, yet it lingered, an unrelenting whisper in my heart, echoing endlessly. Each time my husband departed, I discovered solace in the stable, where Duke awaited, offering a companionship that felt both comforting and dangerously close to something more. The nights in solitude within the residence grew ever colder and more desolate. As I sat in profound silence, attuned to the whispers of the wind outside, longing for my husband's return. Even with him so close, an aching distance lingered in the air, deepening the divide between our hearts. There was a distance between us, a barrier that kept our words from flowing as freely as they did with Duke. I found myself lost in the depths of my silence, unable to grasp the desires that stirred within me, yet the Duke sensed it all, his silence speaking volumes between them. As the shadows deepened and the world outside faded into silence, I found myself drawn back to the stable, unable to resist the pull of a desire I had fought so hard to suppress. My thoughts drifting away from everything else that should have mattered, yet the ache in my heart grew too intense to ignore. The Duke stood in anticipation, his gaze fixed on the door, a mix of longing and tension in the air. I made my way to the place, driven by an undeniable pull, my heart racing with a mix of anticipation and longing. In the enveloping shadows, the sole beacon of illumination in the barn was the delicate shimmer of the moonlight that seeped through the cracks in the walls. Duke stood there, an air of quiet anticipation surrounding him, as if he had been longing for this moment all along. His gaze conveyed a quiet strength, stirring emotions I hadn't expected. In that fleeting moment, I stood frozen, the cool night air wrapping around me like a secret as I struggled to steady the wild rhythm of my heart. In that fleeting instant, everything changed. As I ran my fingers along his mane, I felt a sense of calm and connection. The bond had transcended the ordinary feelings. Its depth was more profound. In that fleeting moment, I understood that I had crossed a line that should never have been approached. I returned, my heart pounding fiercely in my chest, grappling with the weight of my recent choices and the uncertainty they brought. Yet deep down, I knew I couldn't bring myself to let go. In that fleeting moment, I could no longer deny the undeniable bond that tethered Duke and me, even if its origins remained shrouded in mystery, a feeling that had taken hold within me, impossible to resist or overlook. The time stretched on, heavy with unspoken words and lingering glances. His heart yearned to take a step into the unknown. It was the dawn of an undeniable connection, one that felt both exhilarating and perilous. With each passing day, the intensity of that situation deepened, pulling them closer into its irresistible grasp. While my husband was away for work, I found myself drawn back to the stable time and again. I found myself at a loss for the right name to call him. All I knew for certain was that he was impossible to resist. Yet the tale had only just begun to unfold. In that fleeting instant, as I stepped across the threshold for the first time, a wave of doubt washed over me, whispering that perhaps I had chosen the wrong path. I envisioned it would be something utterly extraordinary. It would be a heart-wrenching loss. I would bury it deep within my soul, yearning for it to remain shrouded in shadows, untouched by the light of day. I attempted to convince myself that my confusion was merely a fleeting moment, that the solitude surrounding me had clouded my judgment. Yet, therein lay the challenge. It was never a mistake. There was no doubt. It transformed into a necessity, a longing that could not be ignored, a fervent longing that deepened with each visit to the barn. Duke was more than just a horse on the farm. He was a secret, a longing that stirred something deep within the heart, a connection that felt both exhilarating and perilous. He emerged as a beacon of calm amidst the chaos, a presence I craved yet knew I shouldn't desire so deeply. Even in his absence, the essence of him lingered, haunting my thoughts like a bittersweet shadow. In the quiet solitude of my home, when the world outside faded away, my thoughts drifted irresistibly to him, igniting a warmth that felt both thrilling and dangerous. His coat gleamed in the sunlight, a symbol of the quiet strength and grace he carried. The warmth radiating from his response to my presence was almost palpable. The moments I shared with Duke enveloped me in a warmth that felt both safe and exhilarating, a sanctuary where I could lose myself in thought and emotion. It was more than mere proximity. What drew me in about physics was the profound silence it created, that haunting emptiness that lingered between souls. His way of expressing himself held a depth that transcended mere words, whispering secrets of longing and unspoken desires. Duke ignited a spark within me, a deep connection that thrummed with unspoken desires and a longing that lingered in the air between us. He felt the weight of it, a silent acknowledgement that lingered between them. He felt it deep within him. Each passing year, every glance exchanged held a profound bond that felt both exhilarating and perilous. It was more than enough. A wave of feeling washed over me, intense yet serene, even as I tried to reason with myself, to convince myself of the absurdity of it all, that I was solitary and should find my composure. Yet, I found myself drawn back to the stable time and again. It wasn't solely due to my husband's absence. In the past, he frequently found himself unwell, burdened by the weight of his responsibilities. Yet, I found myself savoring the moments of my own existence, tinged with a bittersweet longing. I could have chosen to spend time with friends, immerse myself in my passions, or return to the familiarity of my work. Yet, the truth lingered in the shadows of my heart. I found no warmth for another soul. I longed for solitude, craving the quiet that only distance could provide. I couldn't bear to fill the emptiness with anything trivial. My heart ached to be with Duke. After that night, when everything changed between us, sleep became an elusive dream I could no longer grasp. After a week of longing, my husband finally stepped through the door, stirring a whirlwind of emotions within me. Even though joy filled my heart at his return, an undeniable void lingered within me as we lay together in the darkness that night. The steady rhythm of breath echoed in the silence, deepening the turmoil swirling within me. My thoughts were tangled, unable to grasp the rhythm of Duke's movements or the comforting warmth that animals provide in those hushed, intimate moments. In my mind, the scenes unfolded endlessly, like a film caught in a loop, each moment tinged with longing and unspoken desire. Bathed in the gentle glow of the moon, the field transformed into a realm of possibilities, and for a fleeting moment, I found myself standing at a crossroads, torn between the life I had built with my husband and the intoxicating allure of the uncharted bond that was blossoming with Duke. I came back from the farm a few hours ago, the air still thick with unspoken feelings and lingering glances. Yet an exhilarating shiver coursed through me, igniting a spark that I couldn't ignore. The echoes of that moment lingered on my skin, a haunting reminder of what we shared. The Duke's presence enveloped me, creating an atmosphere thick with unspoken tension, a magnetic pull that held me entranced in a world that felt both exhilarating and perilous. I attempted to separate it, but it resisted my efforts, holding on tightly as if it knew the weight of what lay beneath. There was no way out of this tangled web of longing and desire. As I slipped back into the bed, my movements were slow and deliberate, as if I were caught in a dream, savoring every fleeting moment. As the storm drew near, my husband lay peacefully asleep, unaware of the turmoil brewing around us, his back turned to me, his steady breath the only sound in the charged air. Within me, the silence that lingered between us was palpable, a heavy weight that spoke volumes. Once I believed in the depth of our love, but now I sensed that the emotional bond we once shared has faded into the shadows. Turning a blind eye to the situation had transformed into an insurmountable challenge. My husband was a man of integrity, and he truly did not deserve the fate that befell him, yet in that fleeting moment, my heart was consumed by a different longing, one that overshadowed all else. The following day, I felt the weight of an unexpected chance lingering in the air. Once again, I found myself alone, the echoes of his absence filling the room as he attended a meeting with a partner, leaving me to wrestle with the silence that lingered in the air. Enveloped by the haunting echoes within the house and the soft whispers of the fields beyond, I felt a disquieting sense of confusion, unaware of the force that compelled me forward. It could have been the way Duke's gaze lingered on me, a smoldering intensity that ignited something deep within, or maybe it was simply the magnetic pull of a longing I had fought to suppress for far too long. There was an undeniable pull within me. Upon learning of my husband's departure, I rushed to the barn, an urgent pull guiding me, as if a part of me understood that I must forge ahead, unyielding. I found myself unable to resist no matter the consequences. In that fleeting moment, I found Duke lingering, his anticipation palpable as he awaited my arrival. He always donned a soft coat, and I could see the way his muscles shifted beneath his skin as he turned toward me, igniting a spark of something unspoken between us. When our gazes met, I sensed a shared longing reflected in their depths, mirroring the yearning that stirred within me. I chose to remain silent as if the weight of unspoken feelings filled the air, rendering words utterly superfluous. As I drew closer to him, my breath quickened, my heart raced with an urgency I couldn't ignore, and my hands quivered at the mere contact. When I gently swept his hair aside, a surge of electricity coursed through me, igniting a fire that felt both exhilarating and perilous. Words eluded me, yet every fiber of my being seemed to hum with an electric energy, each part of me echoing the undeniable pull of his presence. The Duke's enchanting voice beckoned me closer, igniting a thrill that urged me forward without a moment's pause. I traced my fingers along his velvety fur, captivated by the warmth of his steady breath and the delicate rhythm of his movements, a secret moment shared between us. The thrill coursed through me, sending shivers down my spine, while the world around us blurred into nothingness, leaving only the intensity of that moment lingering in the air. I found myself lost in a whirlwind of emotions, unable to grasp the reality of the moment, yet terrified to confront it head on. Taking a break felt like a distant dream, something I could never allow myself to embrace. In the quiet barn, the only sound was Duke's gentle breathing, the way his mane brushed against my fingers, and the palpable tension that hung in the air, thickening with each passing moment, drawing us closer yet keeping us apart. I stood beside him, enveloped in the silence that surrounded us, acutely aware of the warmth radiating from his presence. His presence wrapped around me like a secret, a soothing balm for the ache I didn't know I had. It felt like a dream I couldn't escape, a longing that tethered me to this place I never wanted to leave. Duke shifted closer, his gentle nudge against my shoulder igniting a warmth within me, a gesture that always seemed to spark a smile on my lips. A rush of warmth enveloped me, igniting a feeling that caught me off guard, stirring something deep within. I craved something more, something that danced on the edge of desire. As I made my choice, my hand instinctively reached out to gently trace the contours of his face. I gently brushed his muzzle, comforted by his familiar presence. Duke leaned in calmly, and I felt the steady rhythm of his breath against the quiet barn air. For a fleeting instant, the world around us held its breath. All that existed was the world within the barn, where secrets lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken desires. I cannot quite recall what unfolded in that moment, but the feeling, the delicate line where everything intertwined, slips through my fingers like sand. In an instant, I found myself transported far from that world. I stepped closer, overwhelmed by a quiet need for comfort and connection. His sturdy form reminded me of how grounded I felt around him, and I found myself unable to resist the pull between us. I found myself lost in a whirlwind of emotions, utterly captivated by the unfolding drama. Every part of me yearned for something more, something that defied explanation. There was no turning back now. In that moment, a wave of realization washed over me. I had ventured beyond a boundary I never intended to cross, just as I had begun to feel the thrill of it all. In the barn, the stillness was pierced by the sound of my shallow breaths, each rise and fall of my chest echoing the tension that hung in the air. Being near him brought a quiet comfort in the solitude of the barn. After the separation, my heart raced wildly in my chest, and my body quivered under the weight of what we had lost. Yet, I knew that once I stepped over that line, there would be no turning back. In my heart, it was more than a mere line. It was a hazy imprint, a trace that slipped through my fingers like a secret longing. The memory of what transpired lingered in my thoughts, haunting me with its intensity. The way my heart responded to Duke, simply by his presence, enveloped me completely. I fought to banish him from my thoughts, convincing myself it was merely a fleeting lapse, yet deep down I knew it was far more than that. Our connection deepened, and despite my efforts to ignore him, I sensed that he was drawing me in entirely. Once again, my husband had departed, leaving me alone with my thoughts and Duke, the air thick with unspoken tension. He remained blissfully unaware that, despite our closeness, I had already slipped away into a realm where he could not follow. The memory of the barn lingered in my mind, filled with Duke's presence, his warmth wrapping around me like a secret. He stirred something deep within, igniting feelings I could hardly comprehend. It was as if a hidden part of my soul had awakened to a truth I had never dared to acknowledge. His voice echoed in her mind, a haunting melody she couldn't escape. He found himself enveloped in a haze of longing, an ache that deepened with every moment we spent apart, craving the warmth of his presence like an unexpected secret that lingered in the air. His breath brushed against my skin. The heat of his body so near to mine consumed every thought I had. I found myself drawn to the barn each day, even in the presence of my husband. He spun tales of necessity, whispering about the allure of fresh air, the temptation of a solitary stroll, or the sweet escape of a moment spent in quietude. I couldn't let him see the truth of my heart, the tumult of emotions swirling within me. In that fleeting instant, all he craved was the intoxicating closeness of Duke more than anything else in the world. Between us, an electric and unspoken bond lingered in the air, impossible to ignore. Each time he stepped through the barn door, it felt as though he crossed into a realm where only Duke and I were alive, wrapped in our own secret universe. In a realm where the clamor of the outside world faded into nothingness and the weight of my existence slipped away entirely. Yet, as I stepped into the barn this time, an undeniable shift hung in the air, whispering of secrets and unspoken desires. Duke lingered in the stable, his eyes filled with an intensity that made my heart race as I approached, a silent promise hanging in the air between us. I whispered his name, letting it linger in the air like a secret meant only for us. My tone was serene, yet tinged with an undeniable sense of longing. Every time I reached out to him, he would respond, but that day, an unsettling silence enveloped everything. A shiver of dread coursed through my heart. I wandered through the barn, my heart racing as I opened the doors of each stable, desperate to catch a glimpse of him. Finally, his voice reached me, a whisper that stirred something deep within. Surah's sigh echoed softly in the dimly lit barn, a sound heavy with unspoken longing. I trailed behind him, my heart racing as I found him lingering at the far end of the stable, shrouded in shadows and secrets. He stood there, gazing down, lost in a world of his own thoughts, as if the weight of unspoken desires hung heavily in the air around him. When he looked at me, his eyes shimmered with an intensity that made my heart race. He stepped closer, an electric tension hanging in the air between us, as if the world around us faded away. I stood frozen for a heartbeat, captivated as he drew nearer. And in that fleeting moment, he drew near, his fingers caressing me softly. Yet, a familiar ache began to awaken within me, a quiet yearning, an undeniable pull that I couldn't ignore. As he gently brushed his fingers along his neck, a shiver of longing escaped my lips. Under my fingers, the muscle quivered, a silent testament to the electric tension that hung between us with every touch. There was an undeniable bond between us, an intimacy that defied explanation. I felt the space between us closing in, as if Duke and I were intertwining in a way that transcended the physical realm. Words failed me, caught in the tangled web of my heart's secret longing. In that fleeting moment, it felt as if we were harmonizing on a level I had never experienced before. Our connection had deepened to such an extent that it became nearly impossible to distinguish my essence from Duke's. He embraced every thought, every feeling that stirred within me, as if he could sense the depths of my heart's yearning. Every gesture of his resonated within me, a silent language that only we could share. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, each word carrying an unspoken weight that lingered in the air between us. His presence enveloped me, stirring a warmth that both thrilled and terrified my heart. The warmth of his skin chased away the lingering doubts, leaving only a thrilling sense of longing in its wake. The silence between them spoke volumes, a tension that neither dared to break. In that moment, it felt as if the world outside had faded away, leaving just the two of us in a space that pulsed with unspoken desires. A quiet connection tethered our souls. For a while now, I had refrained from probing the depths of this tangled situation. It was a mystery best left unsolved. Duke shifted closer, his chest brushing against mine, igniting a rush of feelings I hadn't anticipated. His warm breath brushed against my skin, igniting a spark that sent shivers down my spine. As I shut my eyes, I felt that intoxicating feeling enveloping my soul, igniting a fire within that was both thrilling and perilous. I brushed my fingers against his fur, absorbing the warmth and serenity he offered, a connection that felt both intimate and unspoken. I felt my heart race, each beat echoing the thrill of the moment. Yet it was not merely the closeness of their bodies that drew them together, though that undeniable pull lingered in the air. The overwhelming feeling was born from uncovering a connection that defied the ordinary. Duke had transformed from a mere presence into something far more significant in my world. He had transformed into someone unrecognizable. No one else ever reached into my soul like that, and I felt it profoundly. Our eyes locked once more, and a powerful surge of connection coursed between us. As time unfolded, their bond grew more profound, weaving together threads of both turmoil and unexpected joy. In that fleeting moment, time seemed to pause, and an unspoken connection enveloped us, igniting a spark that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. He was more than just an individual. We were entwined in something deeper, something that felt both exhilarating and perilous. I rested my hand on his neck, grounded by the stillness we shared. The weight of the moment enveloped me, drowning out everything else, leaving only the two of us in a fragile bubble of unspoken desire. Yet, deep within, I recognized the impossibility of it all, the price too steep to pay. It would not only tear me away from my husband, but also from the safety I had always known. Fear held me captive, rendering me motionless. My husband stood there, anticipation hanging in the air, as I grappled with the weight of my unspoken thoughts. Yet, the words slipped away, leaving me in a silence that felt both heavy and electric. In his gaze, I saw something that stirred my heart, a blend of worry and unsettling calmness that left me feeling exposed and fragile. How can I put into words the undeniable connection that sparked between Duke and me? How could I reveal my deepest feelings without shattering the fragile beauty of what we had created together? In the end, my voice trembled, caught in the overwhelming tide of emotions that surged within me. In the silence that envelops us, I find the courage to admit my deception. Yet my husband remained unconvinced. The air crackled with unspoken words, his silence revealing depths of feeling that no elaborate conversation could ever convey. I found myself lost in the weight of a truth I could no longer bear, uncertain of how long I could shield it from the world, even if the comfort of silence beckoned me to hold on just a little longer. Even as a tempest raged within me, the thought of Duke lingered, an intoxicating presence I couldn't shake off. There were moments when my husband departed and I found myself drawn to the stable, seeking solace in a presence that stirred something deep within me, even though I knew that this solace came with a price I was not prepared to pay. Perhaps I was uncertain if I could truly embrace it. Yet everything had changed now. A whisper within me cautioned that retreat was no longer an option. My moments with Duke had blossomed into a profound connection, woven with unspoken trust and an intensity that felt both exhilarating and perilous. It held a profound allure, teetering on the edge of danger and pulsing with an undeniable intensity. My heart was heavy with uncertainty, torn between the paths before me, and I questioned whether he truly yearned to retrace his steps to me. How could I carry on with this turmoil, this enigma that enveloped my very soul? How could I maintain the facade of my life, my marriage, untouched, while knowing that a piece of my soul had slipped away into the shadows? The weight of the shadows that enveloped me became increasingly impossible to dismiss. Yet, the allure of the Duke held me captive, a magnetic pull that I found impossible to escape. Could I abandon all that I know, surrender my past for something so tantalizing and perilous? The answer lay closer than I ever dared to dream. I found myself at a crossroads, my heart torn between paths that beckoned with both allure and uncertainty. My heart ached with the need to reveal my deepest feelings, to voice the emotions that consumed me, yet it felt utterly unattainable. A part of me yearned to bring closure to it all, to unravel the tangled web of deceit that had ensnared my heart for far too long. Yet, in the shadows, a part of me trembled at the thought of facing the truth. I revealed my lack of understanding, my voice betraying a longing that lingered just out of reach. I lamented the frantic rhythm of my heart and the subtle quiver of my hands. With an intense gaze, he studied me closely, the air thick with unspoken tension, before stepping away from the doorway and making his way toward me. "I have been keeping my distance, believing you needed it," he murmured, his voice tender yet laced with a hint of worry. "Yet this is not the essence of your being. You have revealed a side of yourself that feels both captivating and elusive." Words escaped me, caught in the tangled web of my heart. I found myself engulfed in a profound sense of isolation and longing. The woman he once called his own felt like a ghost, lost in a realm that was foreign to me, a realm that no longer matched the man he had transformed into. I find myself in a state of well-being. In the end, I found the courage to voice my feelings, even though I could sense the doubt lingering in his heart. He found it impossible to persuade his own heart. He lingered for a heartbeat longer, as if the weight of unspoken words hung in the air, before he turned away, leaving behind a silence that echoed with what could never be. He slipped out of the room, the air thick with unspoken words, leaving a haunting silence in his wake. The silence that enveloped them was suffocating, heavy with unspoken words and lingering glances. I could hear him stirring softly in the kitchen, the sound both familiar and tantalizing, pulling at something deep within me. I realized he was grappling with a puzzle that seemed destined to remain unsolved, each piece slipping through his fingers like a fleeting dream. He yearned to escape from my grasp, to flee to the barn, to be beside Duke, where he could lose himself in the comforting warmth of his presence and the serene moments we shared. Yet, it felt utterly unattainable for me. As the chill of winter settled in, my mind was irresistibly drawn to that person, a longing that felt both exhilarating and wrong. Duke consumed my every thought, enveloping me in a whirlwind of feelings that were both intoxicating and bewildering. That afternoon, as my husband stepped out for his date, a spark ignited within me. In that fleeting instant, I was acutely aware that my choices could alter the course of everything, yet all I could do was surrender to the overwhelming tide of my emotions. As I stepped into the barn, Duke welcomed me with that familiar warmth, a spark igniting in the air between us, as if the world outside faded away. In that instant, I found myself utterly captivated by the depths of his gaze, as if an unspoken mystery held me in its thrall. The connection we shared was undeniable, a deep and unspoken bond that drew us together in that moment, setting us apart from the world around us. I drew closer to him, my fingers quivering as they brushed through his hair. On this occasion, an unexpected allure emerged, one that pulsed with a strength and intensity far beyond what had come before. In that moment, a wave of tranquility washed over me, and an overwhelming sense of yearning enveloped my heart. My thoughts were a swirling void, lost in the depths of unspoken desires. My thoughts swirled in a tempest of longing and desire. In the stillness of the moment, an unexpected sound pierced the air. I was there, caught in the moment, feeling the weight of unspoken desires linger in the air. In an unexpected moment, my eyes fluttered open, and time itself felt suspended as my heart caught in my throat. I hurried away, my breath unsteady, taking in the shadows and whispers that lingered in the barn around me. The sound was foreign, a haunting echo that stirred something deep within me, pulling me into a state of alertness far removed from the familiar presence of my husband. Duke's gaze pierced through me, his body tense with unspoken desires. Yet, the bond we shared lingered, unbreakable and profound. Everything around us felt frozen in time, as if the world had conspired to hold its breath, leaving us suspended in this moment together. In that fleeting moment, I caught the soft creak of the door to his room, a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. As the barn doors creaked open, a whisper of secrets danced in the air. I felt the warmth of my husband's unique voice wrapping around me like a secret melody, stirring something deep within my heart. I arrived, heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. In that moment, time seemed to freeze, and I found myself utterly still, caught in a whirlwind of unspoken feelings. I stood frozen, my heart racing, caught in a moment that felt both exhilarating and wrong. With each step toward the barn, the echoes of my footsteps reverberated in my mind, stirring memories of a time when everything felt both thrilling and unexpected. Deceptions can no longer find a home in that space. I could no longer conceal my heart's longing. The truth lingered in the shadows, poised to reveal itself at any moment. "I'm truly sorry," I whispered, my words slipping out like a secret meant only for the night. Yet his silence lingered like a heavy secret between us, unspoken and aching with unfulfilled longing. Silence spoke volumes between them. The look on his face betrayed a deep, unspoken anguish. There was no way to mend the fragile threads that had unraveled between us. The bond between Duke and me was unchangeable. The story unfolded towards its heart-wrenching conclusion, shrouded in uncertainty about the way forward and the yearning to embrace it. A profound change had taken place. My very being, my very soul, everything felt like a beautiful chaos, twisted and broken into pieces that eluded my understanding. In that fleeting silence that enveloped us, I realized with a pang that the path to the known had vanished, leaving only the intoxicating allure of the unknown ahead. Everything would shift in ways we never imagined. Everything had changed in ways that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. In this way, like the fragments of a shattered dream, everything fell apart. What once felt like a promise has transformed into an undeniable truth. It always finds a way to reveal itself, even when the truth is hard to embrace. What are your thoughts on the consequences that might unfold following this revelation? What destiny awaits the protagonist now? Whisper your thoughts in the comments below. We would be eager to hear your thoughts. If this tale stirred something within you and you crave more stories that echo its essence, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay in the loop with all the latest updates. We are forever eager to explore the depths of our connection with you. Feel free to share this video with your friends, inviting them into a world where passion and longing intertwine, allowing them to savor this captivating tale.